Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good day, good morning, whatever time of the day it is. This is According to Michelle's, and we are here for another episode. Guess what? We're going to be focusing on diet. We're going to be focusing on our health. All right, especially coming out of lockdowns and pandemic situation. We're going to be focusing on our health. And today we have Miss Dorothy Myrna Graham Charles, otherwise known as D Myrna. She's our resident dietitian. You see, I'm getting fabulous on my channel. And of course, don't think you have found the wrong place. This is the right place, according to Michelle's. Everything we do here is celebrate life's moment. And I thought that today we will focus on health, life, enriching our lives with healthy living, right eating. And so the right person I thought of to do this episode with me is Dee Myrna, and she's right here. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
Thank you, Shell. Thanks for having me. It's sunny and we're now into the summer. So we got
Right,
lots
right.
of vitamin D, from the sunshine and all the processes that happen in the body to get that final product, which is vitamin D itself, and helps to lift our mood and all of that. So from the sunny island of Antigua and
Yes,
by
yes.
extension Barbuda, welcome to everybody. It's great to be here.
Right. And everybody is good on your side. There's no hurricane or anything.
Uh, well, this is that season that you look out for hurricanes, but nothing looming so far, so we're
Thank
grateful.
God.
But we welcome the rain.
Okay, yeah, we've been having rains too. Up to today, we had some rains. All right. So, quick question: what started this journey on of health and diet, that lifestyle? What initiated that journey for you?
That's a very good question. I'm not sure what um, piqued my interest, but I just for myself always wanted to do something in the field of health. Um, a friend of mine, though, when I was about 10 years old, gave me a book for my birthday, and it was a book about a missionary who went to somewhere in Africa, and she actually adopted twins because in that part of Africa back in the day, um, having twins was taboo. So it was thought to be a curse.
Mhm.
And she was a physician, she was a missionary. And so the details of the book, I don't recall because that was so long ago.
Mhm.
But from then, I said, that's what I want to do. I want to be a doctor. I want to travel the world. I want to help people to get better, that sort of thing. And studying medicine didn't work out for me. And it's not that it's not still a dream,
Mhm.
but as I toyed with what is it I'm really going to do, whether it's nursing or pharmacy or something healthcare related, um, uh, you know, it so happened that the summer that I wanted to, I was preparing to go to university and still trying to finalize what it is I was going to apply for. And then I thought, nutrition, dietetics, that's the field. I think I can work with that. I'm always health conscious. And then I found out that my friend was going to do the same course too. And my friend happens to be Michelle's, right?
I was gonna interject and tell everybody that that's how we ended up being in the same class together.
Right.
So yes, a part of my journey, I was in that dietetics group and
That's right. We
trying
started
to
out our
grow with
first year together.
education.
We were roommates. We were roommates. I mean, it was wonderful. And for those of you who don't know, Shell and I grew up together,
Right,
right?
right,
And the
right.
person who gave me that book when I was 10 years old happened to be Shell.
It was me.
It was you. So
Oh my goodness!
look at that,
Thank
huh?
you so much. I'm happy
Life.
to know I played an important role in your life's journey.
Yes, indeed. By whatever it was, by inspiration, you gave me that book. We happened
Good
to
to
end
remember.
up in university the same year, same
Mhm.
class, roommates,
Right. Good
and we
old
grew up
college
together
days. Shout
playing.
out to you, Tech
Yeah, UTech Jamaica. I'm telling you, my alma
University
mater.
Technology of Jamaica.
Certainly. And so, that started me off. And one thing I must say about going to UTech, I despised it back then, but I appreciate it now. And I remember one particular lecturer, Miss James, she said, because we had to also sew. You remember it was institutional
Mm-hmm.
management. It was not just dietetics nutrition. So we had to sew and the cooking is part of dietetics. So that's a
Right,
given.
right.
We had the option of doing a little bit of engineering, so forth, so on. And the purpose of that module at the time was to prepare you for the food service industry so you could manage an institution, not just, um, you know, see patients and help them to treat and get them on that journey, but to be able to manage a restaurant or a hospital or whichever food service institution. And I recall Miss James saying that, um, you know, it's good to learn all these things because you just never know where you're going to be in life. And
Yep.
certainly
Oh,
before
you
dietetics, I
definitely
wanted to do
never know.
fashion. And so I realized, and more I realized I have that passion for sewing. I like to sew. I like to, just create things. And so that aspect of UTech, that brought that out of me. And I do appreciate it now. So the journey has been a wonderful one. Uh, it's been what, 26 years
It
since
has. I
UTech?
have counted. Lord have mercy. I have counted. All right. So we've heard a little bit about our resident dietitian. We're gonna get on in to the meat of the matter. So Miss D Myrna, I was in a meeting the other day and the speaker mentioned I to be honest, I don't even remember how we got to that statement, but the statement was you are what we eat. And then he made a reference to a person in the room that did fitness and stuff, and she was also agreeing. So can you unpack that for us? We are what we eat. What's that look like? What's that entails?
Hmm. So, let me start with this. When you meet somebody and I'm not bashing anybody who eats meat, I'm not telling you that meat is bad to eat or you should go more plant-based. Yes, you should go more plant-based, but you don't. I'm not here to tell you you should become vegan, right? Because you just have to do what works for you. But you also have to look at the evidence. And so from time to time, I'll walk into town and I'll meet somebody and their skin is glowing. And I'll stop and I'll ask, are you vegan? And more than likely, they'll say yes. So you can tell somebody who's vegan, who eats plant protein, mostly on a plant-based diet because of their skin. The skin glows. And that, in a nutshell, really does show that persons are what they eat. Now, eating plant-based, eating more vegan does not guarantee that you get a good cross section of nutrients because
You know
it
that.
has to be strategic. So someone doesn't just wake up one morning and decide they're going to be plant-based and just eat anything that's plant-based in terms of fruits and vegetables. There still has to be some sort of balance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a dietitian nutritionist will come in because they'll be able to calculate what requirements based on that person's needs, not just whether they are male or female, or it's where they are in the life cycle. So if they're an adult or a child, they're more the elderly, if they're pregnant, they're expecting a baby, where it is they wanna have children. So it varies. So it's really important that persons know their numbers. When last have you gone to the doctor to do your labs, your workup, your blood work? Are you going yearly? If you have a disorder such as hypertension, diabetes, are you going every 3 to 6 months? So it depends on where that person is in the life cycle. if there are any, if there's overweight, obesity, if there are comorbidities such as diabetes, hypertension, and what tests they'll need to do to keep on top, keep tabs on, their health status. And so it's really important for individuals to do that. Persons who eat a lot of fast foods, ultra processed foods, refined foods, you can see it. You see it in on their body, you see it in the numbers. Um, there's a lot of things, lethargy, feeling groggy. Many times when persons consume a lot of ultra processed foods, they get significant highs and then there are significant lows.
Like a
So the
crack.
food makes them feel really good for a little bit, and then it drops them again. And then they'll probably have to get some more to get that feeling again. And most times it's sugar, high fats, ultra refined and ultra processed foods that may tend to do that. So certainly we are what we eat. When we eat healthily, our numbers will tell the tale. And so it's not for us to go around and tell somebody, you look healthy, you're unhealthy. There are persons who have a little bit of weight, but then they have a high muscle mass. The numbers, whether it's our weight or percentage body fat or BMR, or which is the basal metabolic rate, and other parameters, clinical parameters, those will tell the tale, whether we're healthy or not and what we need to do.
And it sounds as if you're basically saying, I know you use two, you mentioned the numbers repeatedly, but what I got coming out of what you're saying is preventative care. So whether it's doing their monthly checkups, as you said, or um, quarterly or yearly, that's what helps to keep persons on top of basically the the way they are, how they're performing in their bodies, and so on. You touch it a little bit, but break down that the numbers. You
Okay,
mentioned about the numbers.
right.
Break
So
it down.
numbers are pretty much our lab results. So whether we go to the lab and they pull the blood, they take a urine sample, or even a stool test, and based on what the doctor would have ordered or what we need to do routinely, such as our fasting blood glucose, the blood sugar, the fasting cholesterol or lipid profile, which would
Hmm.
speak to the total cholesterol, the good cholesterol, bad cholesterol, and there are scientific names for those and other parameters. And then for persons who are at home doing their regular or their routine testing for blood sugars and the blood pressure, some persons may have a cholesterol machine at home,
Hmm.
and other tests that they may do at home for self-management. Those are what we call the numbers. So ensuring that the numbers are within range. And then when we're talking to persons, the general public, um, yes, we can give an idea of what range they need to have, but we usually advise that it needs to be individualized.
Okay,
So
I was
there are
going to say
generic
on
ranges, but it has to be
individual basis.
individualized. So for example, somebody who is accustomed to having blood sugars of 300, 500, to expect them to have that sudden drop within the range that, the international range or the generic range, it would be an injustice to them because that would be too sudden. So we have to help them to learn how to self-manage and to bring the numbers down slowly until they achieve their goal.
And what number? What's the range? Just for example, what's the generic range for the for sugar? Right, that's what you said, right? For
For
sugar.
the blood sugars,
Mhm.
so any time of day, we don't want it to pass 180 milligrams per deciliter. Of course, there are millimoles as well for those who use millimoles. And depending on the physician may say, or the endocrinologist may say, I don't want it to pass 160 for what we call the 2-hour postprandial. So that's 2 hours after the first bite of a meal.
Mhm.
Some may want fasting numbers of between 70 and 100 or 90 and 130. Some, again, endocrinologists will specify that they want fasting blood sugars of less than 100 milligrams per deciliter. Of course, this is general advice. Each person who has diabetes, whether it's type 1, type 2, or gestational diabetes, need to speak with their healthcare provider and establish individualized goals for them.
Right.
Because again, it depends on what's going on in that individual's life. If it's say, for example, an elderly person living by themselves, the doctor may not be so stringent with the goals because, of course, if they pass out and they're home by themselves, then it might be a situation they don't want to be in. So it depends on the individual and the physician setting that goal, and then the dietitian working along with the team as part of the team.
Okay, so basically, people don't take one, it's not one shoe fit all. Everybody's individual diet and health pattern vary from person to person. So check your numbers, make sure you're doing your preventative care. All right. So we're gonna move in another. We're gonna get nice, and I wanted to sort of zero in on the fact that okay, well, the World Health Organization still says we're going through a pandemic. So I'm using the term lightly when I say post-pandemic. What are some things that persons need to know, consider, especially during the lockdown? Persons was eating. Um, Truth be told, I put something on yesterday, and I'm like, huh? But I just wore this. So a lot of people may have stuff like that, things that they can't wear anymore, things that they can't feel. What are some things that you would recommend that they do? Know that they may be getting to go out some more often. Persons are able to interact with persons and so on. What are some things that they should perhaps be doing, diet wise or health wise, just to return to pre-pandemic?
So that is a good question, and
Is
it's
it
a
too broad?
strategic question because again, COVID has affected the entire globe, right? And around the world, people are living different standards of life. So there are persons who in the Caribbean, like us, who can get up and go to the beach outside, barring there's no lockdown, okay, or barring a lockdown. Um, and then there are those who are in situations where they can't really go out because of the restrictions. They don't have a backyard, they live in a condo, so it varies according to what's going on. And I would just like to take this moment to say we're sending out some love to everybody around the world, and that we are all going to get through this together. It doesn't matter where you're from or
Mhm.
what you're doing, we're going to get through this together. Let me say the biggest challenge for COVID, apart from persons tending to have gained weight because of being locked in for some period, um, psychological well-being. That was the biggest challenge for everybody. Everybody, healthcare workers, persons being at home. And I think we really need to stop and reflect on those who were affected mostly. And these were especially children in homes where, the guardian, the parent tended to be more abusive, so that was a big challenge. Schools probably was the best place for that child to escape. And then with the lockdown and having to be
Right.
home with extended hours with the abuser, especially if the abuser would have been more aggravated, then things would have been amplified. And then mothers who have an abusive partner, or women with an abusive partner, and other genders too who would have suffered abuse from a partner, sexual partner, intimate partner, parent or guardian. And so that was the biggest challenge. And so I want persons to be more sensitized to that aspect of COVID and how it affected individuals, apart from the health issues. And then now we had the issues with persons with chronic diseases not being able to visit their healthcare provider, right? And other issues too, like me, my orthodontist, I'm supposed to see him every month, and because of COVID, I have seen him only once since COVID. Since 2020, I've seen him once. And that was a challenge for me too. I had to become my own orthodontist by using pliers and cutting wires and all sorts of things just to actually prevent myself from being hospitalized, you know. So with the lockdown and persons becoming more overweight or even obese, being more sedentary, that was a challenge. Not for some persons, they probably didn't have enough food,
Mm.
or they had some food, but not the right type of food, you
Mm.
know, or some persons had too much food. Depending on what was going on. I mean, in Antigua and Barbuda, more persons were doing backyard gardening and across the Caribbean as well. And maybe those in sunny regions were able to plant more because they weren't obligated to go out to a 9 to 5. They could work remotely. So those were some of the challenges. So coming out of the lockdown now, yes, things are still not totally back to normal. And then again, keeping in mind, I'm seeing it from our perspective, but there are some persons who do still have some restrictions and aren't able to move about as they would like to. And because they want to prevent any upsurge or resurgence of the disease, then um, their movement and activities have been restricted. And so, keeping all of those in mind, we want to encourage persons, if they can get outdoors, go outdoors, especially now that is in the summer period. Get outside, get active, take the children with you, take the family with you. If there's a beach nearby and you can go to the beach, yes, you do take the necessary precautions to keep safe, but go get some sunshine, get in the salt water, get to a pool, go to the park, ride your bike. Yes, the physical distancing is a given,
Mm-hmm.
but do what you can do. And of course, to ensure that they're incorporating their quota of fruits and vegetables per day to get a good supply of vitamins and minerals and other nutrients that will help, even phytochemicals that will help to boost immunity so that they can remain healthy.
All right. So fruits and veg activity. All right, guys, let's get going. All right. Thank you so much. So let's zero in now on the family. Let's say this particular I'm not even sure, but I know like when I had the virus, because I had gotten it, they were talking about, and even before that, they were talking about eating acidic, was it acidic? Alkalinic, sorry, alkaline based foods and so on. How does an individual continue maintaining or improving on their health even after, let's say they had the virus, whether they had symptoms or not? How do we eat now that we're out of it? Because some people still would have maybe some residual effects from it and so on and so forth. But so how would we eat as it relates to maintaining our health even after a situation like that? Let's say, that's the case.
Again, it depends because different persons would have experienced different spectrums of or aspects of COVID. So some persons would have been hospitalized on ventilator, fighting for their lives. Some persons would have experienced mild symptoms, and they could self-treat at home. So it depended on what was going on.
Okay.
But given that this individual is out of the hospital system, they're back at home, maybe have a caregiver or can self-care, so care for themselves. Um, we usually encourage persons in situations like those to incorporate liquid meals into their diet. So liquid meals would mean like smoothies and soups and teas, So what those do, even fresh pressed or juiced, fruits that are and vegetables that are juiced without the added sugar, that will help to, um, help increase the rate of absorption of the nutrients into the body really quickly, as well as it will help to keep them hydrated, in addition to their usual water, and it will help to just boost immunity. So that's really quickly. So that's what we encourage persons: soups, smoothies, even hot cereals, porridges for persons who still do porridge, um, and the juices, the cold pressed or fresh pressed juices, they can do that. Um, and that really sets that foundation. And even when I used to do cycling as an athlete, that's what I would do, the liquid meals, because I'll get my caloric intake while having nutrient dense foods at that time. And then again, going back to the fruits and vegetables, those are more alkaline than the ultra processed foods. So we want to incorporate more of those, and not just the sweet tasting ones like like well, it depends on which part of the world you're from. Some persons may call pumpkin starchy vegetable.
Mm-hmm.
We call them vegetable where we are. So it depends. Okay, we're not arguing about that today, but incorporating more plants into the diet, um, and the ones that are not so sweet, that have a lower glycemic index, those are the ones that tend to be more alkaline. Mm. So like the broccolis and the green leafy vegetables, those types, it varies. And then you have those fruits like cranberries and some other fruits that have like they taste very sour. They're very sour to taste, but they have an alkaline effect to the body. Mhm. Right. But if you ever get a chance to Google alkaline foods or the alkaline diet, some persons think it's quackery, but if you really look at it, those that are highly refined, like the white sugars, the white flours, the and the other refined foods, you find that they're more acidic, or they have a more acidic effect on the body. The
Mm.
fruits and vegetables,
It's the effect that the food or would have on the body, right?
that's
Acidic or alcohol. Okay.
That's right. That's right. And then more like the fruits and vegetables, especially those that you find they're not so sweet to taste, those that persons tend to run away from, those tend to be more alkaline. And so we want to incorporate more of the fruits and vegetables in our diet, not just fruits and veggies, but colors. Ensure there are different colors: the blues, the purples, the greens, the whites, the browns, the oranges, the yellows. Just mix up the colors, ensure there's a rainbow color on the plate, so to speak. And you'll find that your body would respond better because it is consuming more healthy foods rather than those that are ultra processed.
Mm. So the body responds more to the alkaline based foods then. So is it that we should know all just go on that style of, but again it still will go back to plant based
That's
living.
right. So we're not even thinking about alkaline. We're just thinking about eating healthy, eating
Okay.
the way our grandparents and great grandparents used to eat years ago. They used to eat from the backyard, straight from the field.
Right,
They
right,
didn't have
right.
all these highly processed foods. It's the processed foods that are really affecting us at this point in time. So we
Hmm.
want to eat more from nature, you know. And if you really look at various ethnic groups that eat like that, you realize they live very long, they're
Hmm.
healthier, and
Cleaner.
they fare well, they fare much better. That's right. I can speak about the Rastafarians, and they eat nothing processed, and there are other ethnic groups around the world that eat like that.
Right.
So if we follow that diet or that way of eating, we'll find that we do much better. And I can attest to that. I've been there are times when I had long working hours and I was eating from work, because I worked in the hospital system for a number of years, and you eat what is provided for the staff, and after a while you're not eating the way you really should eat.
Right.
And unfortunately, yes, it was a hospital, but then of course, because of the schedule and everything, you couldn't stick to your diet. And so I would feel very unwell, and I decided, no, I'm gonna put myself on a diet. So I went plant-based. The only animal food I consumed was fish, if any. So I do like the peas, beans, and nuts. And yes, I did lose significant amount of weight. I was persons asked if if I was sick, but honestly, I felt great.
Mm-hmm.
I felt great. I didn't even
Some
realize I
people
lost the weight
getting
until the
used to
person told
you
me.
being at that weight.
Yeah, yeah, right. And the symptoms disappeared, acid reflux went, sinusitis went, everything went, and I was glowing. Even somebody said to me, "Wow, your skin is one shade," and I like, what is she talking about? Then I realized that I did have some, like not one tone. My skin wasn't one tone, and
Mm.
I didn't realize that I had a gluten sensitivity until then. Um, and even until then, I didn't understand the full nature of what was going on in terms of my sensitivity to gluten. And
Mm.
so it was years after I went on a raw foods diet twice, and I realized the same thing happened. Same thing happened. Everything cleared up. The postnasal dripping, the pigmentation, the off pigmentation cleared up everything. And then I realized the power of eating plant based. It's really,
Mm.
really powerful. So I'm not telling persons or sharing with persons what I don't know. I'm sharing with persons what I have experienced for myself.
All right, I know that's a good segue, guys. Quick question. This wasn't on my thoughts before until you said that. But do you do meal plans per person? Well, I think you do, right? Because it's in your line. So can any one of my what you call it? Any one of my subscribers, anybody watching on YouTube, reach out to you for something like that? If are you open to something like that?
Yes, especially with COVID now, I've been doing remote consultations. I
Okay.
have seen persons from outside of Antigua,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, D Graham Charles at
Okay.
gmail.com.
All right. I was just gonna
D
tell you,
Graham Charles at
give us. It
gmail.com.
seemed like a good thought. I was gonna do it at the end, but it just seemed as a good point right there to just do a plug in. All right, guys. So if you wanted to connect with our guest, D Myrna, she's here, our dietitian on the set today with me, according to Michelle's. Still according to Michelle's, we're celebrating life in the form of our health. And so her email is D Myrna. Come again?
D Graham Charles
D Graham Charles at
at
Gmail.
gmail.com.
Hit her up and use code name Michelle. So at least you would know you are somebody who watched the show and you should be able to put more focus on, not saying she's gonna ignore, but at least it will give her an idea who this person is so that it wouldn't go into spam or whatever. Just put in the subject Michelle's, or I watched Michelle's YouTube channel, so that she'd at least have an idea of where this customer is coming from. All right, let's connect with her. Let's plug in. All right. Real quick, eating for success. It's not only your business name, but I think it's a good um segue or a takeaway for us as we get ready to launch into the summer, launch into the latter quarters of this year, eating for success. Because yes, we know about 2020, but I think for me, I'm looking forward. Yes, I've learned a lot of lessons. I want to be able to maximize whatever time I have left on earth and do the best that I can to maintain this tempo. So let's look at eating for success. You could give us some pointers and also explain to us the concept behind your business. All right. So it's a twofold statement.
Yes, so Eat for Success or tagline is a lifestyle approach to nutrition. So it's not a nutritional approach to lifestyle, it's a lifestyle approach to nutrition. I'm one of those who believe you should eat. When you eat, you should enjoy your foods. So your food shouldn't taste like cardboard or paper. You should enjoy your food. And that's what happens. A lot of persons tend to overeat um, because, well, maybe that's how they're socialized, right? But also because the food doesn't taste good, and when the food doesn't taste good, what happens is we as try to eat other foods to compensate for that taste. So there is a method to the madness. There is a need, our body has a need to enjoy tasteful foods. And some persons may say, no, it doesn't need, maybe like somebody who's doing bodybuilding for a competition, they may train and eat foods that don't really have, say, salt or much flavor, depending on what they're training for, or some certain athletes. So we're not talking about that, but we're talking about on a regular basis, we can all enjoy foods. And sometimes it may mean just adding a pinch of nutmeg or a little bit of ginger or a bit of cayenne pepper just to give it a little kick, whether or not we are on a low sodium diet or not. So, eat for success speaks to enjoying life, enjoying your living, and being successful at what you do because you're healthy. We cannot enjoy life, we cannot do anything and be successful at it unless we are healthy. So, that's the whole concept behind eating for success. And that came on the heels of me starting cycling back in 2008. Yes, I could ride before, but I started competitive cycling then, and that's when I started my business, Eat for
Okay.
Success.
Yeah, I know you. I know you're big on the cycling. I was looking at your pictures. I believe it was on Facebook, and I said, I wonder if she still does the cycling. So you okay?
Yes, I still
Right.
cycle. I don't race much now, motherhood and all of that. But
Mm-hmm.
racing is something I may go back into, maybe circuit races. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'll never stop riding. That's what I do best.
Okay. So so some steps for eating successfully. Do you have any?
Yes, so eating successfully, first of all, if we are stressed out, we don't eat well. If we don't sleep well, we don't eat well. If there's chaos in our life, we don't eat well. So it's important that we get sufficient sleep so that we don't, when we don't sleep well, we tend to crave foods that are not healthy because there's our equilibrium is off there, you know, in terms of the cortisol levels and the what we call the satiety signaling, the leptin and ghrelin, all of those hormones that persons may know about. That if we don't rest well, we're not sleeping well, if we're stressed out, then those hormones tend to be off and we tend to overeat. We tend to crave the things that are not healthy. So that's the very, very
Mm.
first thing. Another thing is exercise is very important. Exercise is one of the greatest appetite suppressants. Mhm. And when you find that you exercise, you tend not to crave the unhealthy foods. So we always encourage persons, you do your 10,000 steps minimum per day, and then
Mhm.
you do your strengthening and your toning exercise is very important. But also, when we talk about the actual meals themselves, um, it's important that persons try to incorporate protein, whether plant-based protein or lean chicken or fish or whatever they have, incorporate that with meals and snacks. So let me give an example. For a meal, we may have our salad or steamed veggies with potatoes or rice or whatever starch we have.
Mhm.
And then we may add chicken or fish, or we may do like a tofu or
Mhm.
stewed peas. It depends on what dish we have. But then for a snack, um, and it's all right to snack between meals. A snack
Like
is
you do
pretty much
number
a
of portion.
smaller meal, right? It's a smaller portion of a meal, really. And I usually encourage, um, squeezing the things that we don't usually eat, or we don't eat on a regular basis. So getting the fruits, getting some nuts, getting some seeds, and then some persons may choose to do a cereal like overnight oats or chia pudding during the snack time, but always ensure there are like some nuts and seeds and even beans like chickpeas that they use to make hummus, and they can use celery or apple to eat without carrot sticks. They can use nut butter, you know. So always ensure that there is protein,
Mm-hmm.
in the meal. Ensure that there's heart healthy fat in the form of avocado or even olive oil,
Mm-hmm.
peanuts, almond nuts, cashew nuts. They could use like tahini or hummus, put those in the meal. And then ensure that there is fiber. And fiber will come from fruits and vegetables mainly. There are other sources of fiber, but because most persons don't get enough fiber in fruits and vegetables into their diet, I encourage them to get their fibers from fruits and vegetables. And then, of course, they can add the other items in.
All
So
right.
those are some quick steps.
Right.
Another thing, Joe, I want to encourage persons to do is not to be afraid of incorporating heart healthy fats into the diet. So heart healthy fats would be like the nut oils or the nuts themselves, the avocado, the olive oil, because what happens is your body needs um, in order for your body to absorb the fat soluble vitamins, vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K, it needs some oil because as you hear, fat soluble, they depend on fat to be absorbed into the body. So fat is not bad, it's the type of fat that we use. So we want
That
to
you use.
kind of stay away from the trans fats, those highly processed fats and those fats that are hydrogenated, the hydrogenated oils and fats. We want to stay away from those and go more for the cold pressed and extra virgin oils and those that come from seeds and nuts and avocado and olives, so forth, so on.
Mm. Awesome, awesome. Sounding good. Again, don't be afraid to hit her up, dgrahamcharles@gmail.com for more steps, more success in eating healthy and living a healthy life. And then as we're winding down, I thank you so much, Miss D Myrna, for coming through. I want to find out, no, as I said, we always celebrate life's moment. What's that one go-to thing that you do for your self care? I always talking about telling everybody to take care of their number one. It's only one you. And even as I was looking at you today, and I said, "Boy, you're looking so lovely." Not saying you weren't lovely before. I'm sure you're using that one thing or maybe two things to maintain this beauty that I've
Thank
seen
you.
here.
I know
So
I
what's
can
that
always
one go-to thing you use for your self-care, for your to even yourself out, or whichever way you want look at it. Yeah, what's that?
I know I can always depend upon you to uplift my spirit when I feel
Oh,
down. Uh,
oh,
the one
oh,
number one,
guys.
the number one go-to thing for me is the beach.
Okay.
The beach, and my skin is glowing now because I've gotten some good sunburn. Couple shades up, but I mean it's worth it. Um, Especially now with COVID, and there's not many places you can go to socialize. The beach
Right.
is that place for us. It's a good social place because then there are other persons you can speak to from a distance, a safe distance. Um, we go to swimming class on a Saturday, and I started going on a Tuesday as well, but it also creates that opportunity to get grounded. So putting my bare foot on the sand, getting that groundedness, and then or grounding, and then the salt water. I know some persons don't live near the beach, so it's not to say that everybody has to because it depends on where they live. Um,
Mhm.
but I'm talking about me and where I go.
Right, right, right. The question
Right.
is all about you. Don't worry.
That's right. And then, I've been asked, you really want to live island life? Well, I love island life. There's so many things you can do
Right,
on the islands that
right,
keeps you uplifted.
right,
A
right.
study was done a couple of years ago about happiness, and actually in the Caribbean, we ranked very high on that scale of happiness because in the Caribbean we are fetters, meaning we love to dance and we laugh and we run
Mhm.
jokes, and you go down the road and before
There's
you
a
reach
party.
quarter mile, 20 people telling you hello, some man telling
Right.
you how lovely you look, and that sort of thing. So you always have, I mean, if you have an adult day at home and you go out on the road, there's always somebody to uplift you, you know?
Somebody, yes.
That's right. So the beach is my number one place to go, and we walk with our fruits, and we walk with our snack, and we have a good swim. Saturday was so lovely.
Mm.
We actually spent about almost 6 hours
Or
at the
and
beach.
it goes away so quickly. Like you, by the time you look, you're like, "What is it?" At the
Yes,
end of the day, I remember as children, I grew up on the island of Jamaica, guys. I think I've said it before, but you be there all day, just in this, and then when you look, you don't want to leave, but when you check it out, you spend literally 8 hours at the
that's
beach.
right.
Yep,
Wonder where the time went. And
right.
yeah, that's what happened Saturday. We didn't want to leave, but we left because everybody else was leaving, you know? Yeah,
It's
you
like
know.
when the
So,
sun starts to set, and then the mosquitoes will come out. Well,
yes.
well,
And
it's
actually
a
got
part of
stung by
everything,
jellyfish on Saturday.
right?
Yes, it was an awesome experience.
Mhm.
Jellyfish sting. But it was worth it. It was worth it, you know, and you get the vitamin D in. It does lift your mood. You know, it does something for your mood. But of course, the beach is one of the most therapeutic places to go. And
Yes.
then there are other places around the world. But find what works for you. What I always say to person is find your wellness space. Where is that place that you can go when you feel stressed or when you feel tired?
Mhm.
And I don't encourage going on a device. I mean, if you're going to go and watch some comedy, that's fine. But if you're watching stuff where people are being shot and killed and there's blood, that's not therapeutic,
No, it's
right?
more something more to heighten your emotions. That is.
Yeah. So do some, yeah, watch a little comedy, get a little laugh. But if you can get away from the device and go outdoors and do something, go riding, go to the park, go read a book, go on the lawn, wherever it is that's safe. If you can't go anywhere, but you can go in the shower and take a shower bath with some nice essential oils, something.
Right.
Put
Candle.
on some jazz music, put on some reggae, put on some gospel, put on what works for you. But
Right.
find that place that you can get away from, even for 5 minutes, you know, and just recharge and get back to the center of yourself.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. So happy for this talk with you, D Myrna. Just to recap, guys, remember to it's important for us to do our preventative care measures and knowing what our numbers are and making sure that my plan is not the same like his or her plan. We got to stick to it. And also remember that we have to encourage ourselves to eat more on the healthy side, whether we're going to go straight vegan or just doing more plants based food items, right? You're not launching a campaign for vegetarianism, but you're encouraging us to eat more on the
Eat more
plant based
plant-based.
side.
That's
Right.
right.
Note to self. I
Your
mean, I
body
do
will love
eat
you
my
for it.
vegetables. I'm more a fruit person. I'm more a fruit person. Okay, so guys, thank you so much for coming in. Oh, and I remembered I said that she's available for you to reach out for meal plans or any other diet and health consultation. D Graham Charles at Gmail. And you could always put in the subject line you watched Michelle's the YouTube channel, Michelle's, so that she could have a basic idea where this connection is being made from. And again, don't forget to take care of you because there's only one you. I have a lovely time having you here today, and we shall see each other again, I'm sure. I'm going to find another reason to bring you back. All right?
Certainly was great being here, and thanks to all our viewers and listeners for partaking in this conversation. And as we say in Jamaica, I'm part Jamaican, I'm part Antiguan, and part everything,
Mhm.
just like Michelle's. Bless up yourself every time.
Yep, yep, yep. And happy summer. All right. Take care. Thank you so much. All right. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you, Michelle.